YouTube, what the crap's going on? We have Mr. XMT Falcon, who is bringing me a replay, and I appreciate him sending this in. Falcon is an awesome player. I'll try and link to his channels as well. Falcon makes content. He's a great player in the Total War series. He's made awesome guides, and I've gotten to play matches with him in the past. He's a good competitive player, but he also has some fun times, I think, just having fun with the game and the way it plays. And we're going to see an awesome matchup here. I'm going to actually slow it down just a little bit at first. We're going to have the Empire and Chaos facing off against the Dawi and Skaven. So I love these very anti-lore team-ups here. This is very nice. Factions that would otherwise hate each other being forced to team up and play together. But it's also fun because in Warhammer, getting to put all these different factions together and synergize on their strength is also a lot of fun. The Empire, for instance, does not have a fantastic infantry line. Their infantry is rather cheap and not always great. But they can bring a heck of an artillery line, and that's exactly what's happened here. We've got 4 rocket batteries, including the Sunmaker, and then we've got a couple of mortar units, just some cheap spears to protect them, a couple of Empire Knights, and Volkmar the Grim with a Jade Wizard, so that's plenty of healing. And then as for Chaos support, Kholek has brought the real meat of the melee portion of this army. So the Empire is going to cover range, and then Kholek is going to cover the ground fight, basically, right? The up-close and personal melee fight. So we got Kholek Suneater, who he himself is a massive damage. Basically, he outputs damage like crazy. Especially anti-large and armor-piercing damage. He's got some Chaos Trolls supporting a big line of Marauders and Warriors with great weapons, so a whole lot of potential melee here. There is a Sorcerer of Fire on a Manticore, which will be a nice melee touch as well, and mobility. And speaking of mobility, there's also several units of Marauder Horsemen running out in front of the army, which again is a great way for Chaos to just have some extra mobility and ability to harass enemy units. As for the Skaven and Dwarf Alliance here, it's going to be led up, I don't know if I pointed out Volkmar as well. Volkmar, of course, the leader of the Empire Army, does have his Grand Hammer of Sigmar? I forget the names of all these. Grand Shield of Faith and the Grand Hammer of Sigmar, along with Soulfire, Grand Soulfire. So he's got some nice support tools. Now, as for the Dwarves, they've got 3 Bugman's Rangers. So these particular Rangers are all doused up on ale, and they are so full of ale that they are regenerating and decent in melee, so don't forget it. We got some Dwarf Warriors up front. There are some Miners. Belegar Ironhammer is their leader, and basically Belegar is more of a tank. He's got a really good shield and armor. He does output good damage against low armor stuff, but he's not good against other armored entities. We're going to have Thunderers as support, and then the Skaven have brought a fair number of clan rats, just a lot of clan rats, but they've also got some range support. Though, being Skaven and Dwarves, I would have expected more artillery, and clearly Empire and Chaos did expect more artillery, which is why they've brought what they did, I would imagine. But the Dwarves and Skaven are actually going to do more rushing. They do have Natty Buboes, they do have the Avalanche Mortars, and they've got some Warp Block Jezzails here as well, so there is some range. There is a Warp Grinder weapon team. Now remember, they have a special ability, which is like a seismic thing, which stops all the enemy units near them. So here's the Warp Grinder. See, they got the Seismic Snare and Warp Quake, which is some great support abilities. And then back in the back, we got the Grumbling Guard, some Warriors with great weapons, and some Slayers. So, yeah, just a large numbers army, actually, for the Skaven and the Dwarves. Now we're going to check things out. It's going to get real heated real quick here. The artillery is going to open fire. There is a hill which doesn't help line of sight a whole lot with the rockets. You can see the way the rockets fire at a relatively narrow arc compared to the mortars. And you can see that when a unit were to get up here on top of the hill, it could easily be hit by friendly fire as the distance closes. And see, like right here, a rocket did land some friendly fire. But otherwise, they should still be able to get a lot of damage done. They are rockets, and mortars are pretty decent as well in this regard. So you can see the Skaven and the Dwarves approaching. They're going to come under a huge barrage of missile fire. But, again, numbers are kind of on their side if they can use it properly. We do have some Rat Ogres, which are good for running down enemies, and the Jezzails should be able to help snipe out single entity models if they're used properly. So here's more Jezzails. But right now, the Jezzails are quite a long ways back from the fight, and they're also under a heavy threat from the rocket batteries, and without having any units maybe such as, and you can see the Empire left some really good support back here. Lots of spears, and the Empire Knights stayed back until they had seen whether or not there was any Vanguard units, because the Skaven very well could have brought, you know, gutter runners or other units like that. It would have been a real pain in the butt to deal with, and so I think leaving the spearmen and the cavalry there is a very good call until you have a solid idea that your artillery is safe. But regardless of the artillery getting some good work done, and it is, the avalanche mortars are firing away. They've picked up 24 kills. These natty buboes are doing some big damage over here, along with another Jezzail. They've hurt the Chaos Sorcerer pretty badly, but Kholek managed to punch through and get into these Warplock Jezzails, but he's put himself in a nasty position. He's being pursued by Slayers, Rat Ogres, and shot by Thunderers and natty buboes at this point, so Kholek better be quite careful, though he does have Volkmar for some support here. And Chaos does have some hard-hitting infantry here with the warriors with great weapons. You can see there's some nice support here coming in from the avalanche mortars, and they actually managed to break this fight up, which is pretty fortunate because Chaos did manage to still break through, but they took massive losses in the process, which is really going to be good for the dwarves and for Skaven. Look at Kholek here, just gets busted up. You can see a regrowth has to come in to save Kholek here, and he needs it bad. So the Jade Wizard bailing Kholek out, and Kholek doesn't normally have healing. Kholek with healing is terrifying. He is very powerful. Look over here, you can see the dwarves and Skaven are overcoming the Empire and Chaos in this vicinity, and it's forcing the spearmen to come forward. No one has yet challenged the artillery, and it's not going to be easy to do so. Like I said, there was quite a bit of protection left, and purposefully so. You can see the Rat Ogres trying to break through and do just that, and they are going to break through. The problem is their leadership won't be great. It's not going to take much for the Empire and Chaos to rout these units. You can see Empire Knights and Spearmen closing in to do just that. You know, they want to stop that before it goes too far and they lose all their artillery. Some units for Chaos doing very well in melee, like out here, these warriors with great weapons, chopping through Rat Ogres, Miners, the Marauders helping them chop through Skaven Slaves. Marauders ought to be very good against Clan Rats and Skaven Slaves, honestly. That artillery barrage, though, is really starting to make a big impact, and some of these key units that are needed to help pick off the likes of Volkmar, the Fire Sorcerer, and Kholek are starting to take a lot of damage. See, Volkmar himself gets stuck here, and there's a cool use of, I forget the name of the spell, but it's a spell that the Skaven Warlock Master is using. He's right over here, and it's pulling down the armor of Volkmar. I'm going to try and remember the name of that real quick, actually. Forgot what it was called. It's this one right here. Yeah, Flensing Ruin. So he's using Flensing Ruin, but look at that Soulfire there from Volkmar, and he drops a banishment to kind of break up all the skirmish units. There is still a Warp Grinder team back here in good shape. These Warp Grinder teams can be pretty clutch if they're able to freeze something like Volkmar or Kholek into place for long enough to shoot it. But you can see the melee it's rough for both sides. Both sides are taking a lot of losses. This melee, look at this, the Avalanche Mortars just continuing to fire. They've used up a considerable portion of their ammunition, gotten 116 kills. Nice lightning there from the Skaven. Look at this, the Hellstorm Rocket Bagger, 38 kills, 146 from the Sunmaker, 59 here, 32, 15 kills on that mortar, and 50 kills on the other, so there's going to be a lot of kills for the Empire Artillery. You can see here that the Fire Sorcerer continues to take shots up on his Manticore, and this is a very close battle, folks. This is a very close battle. See, nice use of that Warp Grinding ability here. He's trying to hold the Marauder Horsemen in place and kill them. Thunderers have a line on Volkmar, and Volkmar is very close to dying, but here comes a healed up Kholek, courtesy of the Jade Wizard, just in time to try and support because Volkmar is getting savaged by the Thunderers. Volkmar does regenerate, though. He's got his Jade Griffin, and if he can just get away from the fighting, he can gain back all those hit points with a little bit of patience without even really having to go through the winds of magic. But you can see he took a beating. Down to like 780 hit points, but Kholek has 4,000 hit points again. You guys saw him earlier, he was almost dead. So that is a pretty big deal to put that many hit points back into a unit like Kholek and then have him come back late in the game like this. Here you can see he's going to try and put a hammering on the Warlock Master, but then decides to go target elsewhere because he's being shot. But check this out. Kind of a terror route and a chain route going on here in the middle. These units just didn't have any leadership near them, and the Skaven units just couldn't hold it together. There are still some Thunderers back here. You can see Volkmar is managing to mostly recuperate any damage that he takes. So the Jade Griffin is playing out clutch for him. Some Warp Lock Jezzails got caught by Kholek. Another big loss for the Skaven and Dwarf team. And it's not going to be good. Not going to be good. You can see those Thunderers being forced to move. They were worried they were going to get bombarded. Yeah, check it out. It's a crazy fight right now. Absolutely crazy. The Dwarves are finally challenging the artillery back here. It's used most of its ammunition. The Dwarves have Warriors, Slayers, Belagar. They're all back here trying to take out the artillery. There's not a lot left back here for the Empire. Another banishment coming in from Volkmar. Volkmar's got 85 kills. He's taking fire from the Bugmans, and he just lost even more armor. Fortunately for him, Kholek comes to the rescue, and the Hill is going to rescue him from these Thunderers, who really can't get a good line of sight on either one of these enemy heroes without moving closer, which then, of course, puts them in extreme danger. So it's kind of a lose-lose there for the Thunderers, because neither position is where they want to be in life. But again, a very close fight right now. Very close fight. So it's a good one between these two teams. You're going to see the Fire Sorcerer diving in, trying to save the Jade Wizard from the Clan Rat Spears. Clan Rat Spears do some damage against large, but they are Clan Rat Spears, so, I mean, there's only so much damage these units are capable of. But if nothing else, they're a good way to keep a unit busy for the Skaven, and potentially routed here. Look at that. The Warlock Master came in and it routed. So a little leadership support pulled that one together. Look, two Thunderers that got defeated back here. There are some Empire Knights way back here chasing off units. There's a Chaos Marauder way in the back too. There are some Horsemen over here kind of chasing some units as well. So the Empire and Chaos actually now the favor kind of rolling against them at the moment. They've lost their artillery. But how do you kill Kholek without guns? Belagar is not going to be great at it. Warlock Master does do armor-piercing damage. Slayers could certainly help deal some anti-large. But how do you get Kholek to be still at this point and take the beating? And I don't know that you have a way to pull that off. Look at this. Jade Wizard might come back. Fire Sorcerer did come back. Yep, there's the Jade Wizard. So Warlock Master over here taking a beating. Belagar is looking to help support. The Slayers did manage some of them to pull through. And Belagar gets attacked by a Manticore, who does do some pretty good damage on the charge, but then himself gets routed by a quick hit from Belagar. And Kholek now wants to take a shot at Belagar, and he should. This is a fight that should heavily favor Kholek. You can see he puts a huge hit. 2 huge hits on Belagar almost immediately. It's going to slow down a little now, but, I mean, good gravy. Kholek hits like a train. And it's probably because he is the size of a train when he rolls into these fights. So yeah, he's going to run off now because there's Slayer support and Clan Rats pulling through. He doesn't really want to get bogged down with all these enemies. It may not go well for him, especially with the Slayers kind of chipping away at his hit points. Volkmar is barely alive, but fortunately for him, he's fighting against what he wants to fight against, which is kind of a blob of infantry. And not only that, he's about to get some support from some Chaos Warriors, allowing him to pull out and get to safety. And at this point, I mean, it's hard to say who could win. This could go to either side, but as I see units regrouping back here, I kind of feel like Volkmar and Kholek have a chance to bring this one back, potentially, whereas it was looking like they may lose early on, especially when Kholek and Volkmar both took a beating at the hands of that missile infantry on the other side. But now they're in pretty good shape. There's not a lot of units that can do great damage to them, and they're both causing terror. And this is really, really bad for the Skaven and the Dwarves here. Not a lot of units that can resist that. See, Kholek's mass and charge is going to be really difficult to deal with. You can't really pin him down. Same thing with Volkmar. Difficult to pin him down. And these units are going to be able to kind of roll through the battlefield, picking and choosing where they want to charge, while you just do your best to do something about it. See, the Warlock Master got terrified from a couple of hits. He is going to come back from routing here, which will be pretty important, but there are some Chaos Marauder Horsemen that are going to stop him from getting back in and helping. You see, Kholek has taken some big damage. The Mighty Oathstone here, definitely helping out Belagar. And Kholek's down to his last 1,100 hit points. Volkmar's down to his last 300. But all we have is some clan rat spears, some warriors with great weapons, some miners. Over here, there is a dwarf unit that came back, but now they're rerouting. So and then there's artillery that's gotten back on its guns over here, and that's definitely helping the power bar for the Empire and Chaos. Even if it's not firing, those units can certainly play into the power bar, and you can lose by the power bar for sure. If it tilts against you too much, you'll just get a chain route, and anything you had left that could have fought will no longer be fighting. See here, Kholek and Volkmar trying their best to get rid of Belegar. Belegar is a tough customer in the right situations. I mean, he's not going to be your most amazing lord out there, but he is definitely a tough customer when you put him into the right fights. And you're seeing that proved here. He's got 68 kills, and Kholek is having to keep a respectful distance from him and try and charge him while his other units hold him. You can see that's going to work here, and it's going to be difficult for Belegar to land any shots back against Kholek. He gets terrified. It's crazy to me that Belegar can be terrified, but he can. I would have thought that he would have been immune to psychology, but he's not. And what an epic comeback there by Felkon and his teammate, bringing it back from the brink with the Empire and Chaos in a very close fight. So Raptor and Felkon taking on King Wizard and I Backslap Wookiees, which that's a pretty awesome name. I have to say I like that a lot. So let's go look at Raptor stats here. Very nice work with Volkmar. The artillery did what it was supposed to do, which is to cause extensive damage to a lot of units all over the battlefield. And it was almost not enough, right? Because the dwarves and Skaven almost brought this thing back, but almost doesn't count when it comes to the victory screen, at least. And so they were able to hang on there with some nice work. Look at this Empire Knight also got some nice work in too. So nice play by Raptor, and then Felkon with the Chaos Army here. I like the Chaos Army. Kholek is such a damage dealer. He's a fun lord to use for Chaos, and then the warriors with great weapons, for the most part, had a pretty good time here. They got a lot of damage done. This one doesn't have a lot of kills, but it picked up a Chevron, 124, 100. So the warriors with great weapons. Marauders are a solid pick here. They're a cheap unit that can get some work done against other cheap units. They have shields, definitely useful units. The trolls managed to get in and do some work. These guys probably didn't come with with no chevrons and then gain all the way to rank 9. They were probably done this way in order to help keep their leadership high by Felkon. So yeah, in any case, nice kills with the Fire Sorcerer too. And then King Wizard here with Belegar. I thought Belegar might have a chance to pull this one off. So that was almost an epic finish there by the leader of Clan Angrund. And so that was cool, King Wizard. That was a nice play. The Grumbling Guard got some decent kills. These Thunderers, I'm not going to show a lot of kills, but these guys did help do a lot of damage to some of the single entity models, as did the Bugman's Rangers. So I wouldn't underestimate their input in this fight, even though it doesn't show much on the kill board. I really wish CA had a toggle switch here, or not even a toggle switch, just show the kills, and then right beneath it, have another number that is the amount of hit points that they caused in damage during the fight. Both of those would be very useful to see. And then I Backslap Wookiees with his Skaven, got a lot of kills with the Avalanche Mortars. Again, not a ton of kills per se, but look at the Warp Grinders may have had a Chevron applied to him ahead of time. I'd have to go back and look at that. But key units in terms of trying to control speedy units that are running around on top of you, so I like this pick. And then the Jezzails also did get some good damage done. It just wasn't enough. They almost killed Kholek, and they almost killed Volkmar. But when you almost kill one of these units, and there's a Jade Wizard in the back, almost just doesn't count. Almost just doesn't count in this case. But hey, great game to all players. Appreciated you submitting that, Felkon. Hope he is doing well. Like I said, go check the links in the description. I'll link you to some of Felkon's content. He's a great player. I appreciate him being a part of our Discord community and contributing what he does to the Total War community as a whole. Not only him, but all of you. Thank you for being here today. In fact, if you like this video, do me a favor. Go hit the like button so we can help this spread to more folks. We can improve the Total War community. So anytime you watch a video and you like it, go hit that like button. Not just for me, but for all these other creators too. It'll help this get popped up more in YouTube, and it'll get shared with more people. If you're one of the people watching this, which is about half of you who aren't subscribed, appreciate you being here. We'd love to have you subscribe. If you feel like you want to see more of this content, please go hit the subscribe button and the bell, and you'll be the first to know about it whenever it does come out. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. Hope to see you all soon.